Yes, hello, this is Danhausen here, very nice for evil, and you are listening to Bob After Dark. Subscribe or be cursed.
From Mothman and Nessie to the spirit that haunts your home, welcome to Bob After Dark, a podcast about legends, lore, and the supernatural. So turn your lights down and your volume up and enjoy your trip to the shadows.
You ready?
I'm ready, Bob. You're live and ready for action.
Oh, hey there, children of the night, and welcome to Bob After Dark, the show that takes you into the shadows and goes and says hello everything that goes bump in the night. I'm your host, the most that enjoys toast, Bob, and alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful, ever vampiric, and ever cape-wearing producer, my friend, my brother, my producer, Count Panic himself. Oh, hey there, Count Panic.
Yes, hey there, Bob. Here back with another rousing episode of Bob After Dark. Good to see you, Bob, through the magic of the internet.
Yes, I'm currently dealing with a very fast problem. Hey, Vix, nice to see you. Very quick problem, and I'll be back in the studio next week.
Quick problem.
Quick problem, easy to fix.
Easy to fix.
Heather says hello to say both of us. Hello, hello.
Hello, Heather.
Hello, Heather. Hello, Fortune Clouds. Hi, guys. It's nice to see all of you in chat.
Yeah.
We have the chat live right now, folks, as people who might be listening in podcast land might be wondering who we're talking to. We are live on my Twitch channel right now, twitch.tv/Bob After Dark Play.
Well, I think people on this side of the radio side probably wondering who the heck is. They think you have voices.
Who are
in your
they?
head,
We
Bob.
have a studio audience
They think
now.
you have voices in your head right now, but no, those are people on the Twitch over there. But yes, welcome one and all to Bob After Dark.
Absolutely.
Sit down.
Count Panic, because it's been a little chaotic the past couple of weeks. I haven't really had a proper weekend update from you. So before we begin, let's get Count Panic's weekend update.
You know, Bob, as the weather, I always bring up the weather because it's always up and down. But as the weather kicks into high gear, Count Panic will be out and about for sure. So if you see me roaming the streets, do not be alarmed. That's me, just me roaming the streets. But it was a good weekend, Bob. I mean, geez, anything of noteworthiness happened? Trying to think.
Did you watch a good movie?
No, you know, I still got to see that Mission Impossible.
They're still making those movies?
Yeah, they're still making those. This is supposed to be the last one. Tom Cruise still does his own stunts, Bob. Can you believe that?
I cannot. It's impressive.
He's like 88.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Are you into
geez.
There's been a bunch of those, though. You know, they all blend together, Bob, but, you know, I thought that would look like those are always entertaining movies. Action, adventure, what more can you want in a summer blockbuster? But, yeah. No, I did not see. That was my wicked update. I did not see, the movie.
That's fair.
It was a good weekend, though. It was a good weekend, Bob. How was your weekend?
It was good. I was at Milwaukee Pride with Vix. I was helping out with the Paw Star side of things this weekend, so
You were traveling.
I'm traveling a little bit. I had a good time, though, except I hurt my back.
Is that the small issue we're dealing with here?
That is the small issue. I have either a pinched nerve or there's something going on with my sciatica.
So you have that.
Yeah, I do. So I'm currently propped up in my computer chair at my home office, going live from here because I've been just kind of dealing with that.
When did you start?
And I leave for Vegas this weekend, so yeah, I need to get my back
You're going
better.
to Bob in Vegas.
Yeah, first time.
First, are you going to hit the strip?
Yeah, I'm staying at New York.
Siegfried and Roy?
And I believe they're both dead.
All right. Well, I know they had that unfortunate tiger incident, but Chris Angel, I think, is the magician right down there. No.
I believe Chris Angel doesn't have a residency on the strip anymore.
How long have you had to say? How long have you?
I'm actually going to see Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, in Vegas?
Yeah, he's got something going on there. Weird Al, I'm going to see BattleBots, and for the fans at home that are super interested, yes, I am going to Zach Baggins' Haunted Museum.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to see how much I can live stream from there,
Wow.
if any, but I will have pictures if they let me take
What
any.
if Zach Baggins is there?
Let's just hope that he doesn't remember me
He's like,
as
have
much
that
as I
man
remember
removed from my
him.
museum immediately.
That would be terrible.
No, I hope that doesn't have a bomb. Well, you should have a good time. How long have you had may I ask, how long have you had the sciatica?
This weekend? Oh, I've had sciatica problems my entire life,
Did
just
you?
about most of my adult
What do you
life.
do for it?
A lot of menthol patches. I can't name drop a brand because they don't sponsor the podcast,
Oh,
but they should.
so it's like the cigarette product?
No, menthol,
Oh,
man.
okay.
Menthol's a thing outside. Yeah, I smoke a lot of menthol cigarettes.
Stick here for a sec. You just smoke a lot of cigarettes. All right. Well, I was just wondering. All right, Bob.
No, menthol patches, icy hot, I'll just call it what it is. Icy hot patches, menthol roll-on stuff. I can't believe you asked me if I just start smoking a lot of menthol
Well, you
cigarettes.
said menthol, and I didn't fully pay attention. I thought you were just smoking menthol cigarettes, though. You know.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not a smoker anymore, Count. I haven't had a nicotine in a very long time.
What got you off it, though?
Dad, when he passed, I really
Stop?
stopped
Really?
hitting on the nicotine as much as I was.
Hmm.
These days I'll smoke a pipe or a cigar,
Pipe?
that's about it.
Does
Maybe
the-
a hookah session once in a great blue moon.
Does the pipe have bubbles coming out of it?
No count
Oh,
panic.
okay. I want one of those pipes. Or Frost was the Frosty the Snowman. The
Frothy
corn,
the snowman, the
frosty
corn cob pipe.
corn cob
Yeah,
pipe. Yeah,
corn
yeah.
cob, yeah, pipe.
Get one of those.
Anyway, count panic. How are you?
I'm doing good, Bob.
If this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob After Dark, we are your weekly show where we talk about legends, lore, and supernatural things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, weird cryptid stories, and of course, Count Panic's favorite movie to watch during summertime. Like, what's your summertime vibe movie?
Man, can it really be Mission Impossible? That's a good action summer blockbuster movies. You could watch those on repeat.
Yeah, but I'm not. I guess if that's
Summertime
what you
movie?
make, it's like if that's what you picture as your summer vibe
Yeah,
movie.
let's see. Good summer. Sandlot's always a good one. Classic, right? Sandlot.
Yeah,
Classic
that's a good
summertime, gets you
choice.
in the mood for summer. Geez. I mean, you gotta do blockbusters. You gotta go blockbusters, Bob. Any blockbuster is a good
I
summertime
think for
movie.
me, it's Jaws.
Jaws is a great summertime movie.
Jaws is what makes me think of summertime the most.
Yeah. I mean, who? I mean, come on. There's people at the beach, a killer shark.
Killer Shark,
I mean,
yes, 100%.
That's what you want in your summertime fun, I guess. Jaws is terrifying, though. I mean, I'm surprised, that's a movie that's never been redone, like in the modern times here. They did redo the King Kong.
Sharknado, I guess.
Yeah, but Jaws, I'm talking about the brand Jaws, but like King Kong had several incarnations. Godzilla as well, several different types of Godzilla movies out there. Jaws had, Jaws 2, of course, but never
Jaws 3,
never-
Jaws
well,
4,
I'm
I
talking
think.
about like a
There's up
remake
to
though. But in the modern times, because when did Jaws 4 come out? I mean, that was
I don't need a
Decades.
Jaws remake, man. There's certain movies that just
Let's
don't
see.
need to get remade, and Jaws is definitely one of them.
I mean, they would just CGI a shark, right? The old shark was mechanical.
Yeah, and it's a lot more terrifying.
Jaws, Jaws 4, Jaws the Revenge, has 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. 2%. And
Isn't Rotten Tomatoes backwards, right? Where it's the higher the percentage, the worse it is.
no, I think the lower it is, the worse it is.
Oh, okay. For
Jaws,
whatever reason, I thought Rotten Tomatoes was backwards.
because Jaws gets 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't think Jaws is the bad one. Jaws 4 is the good the good one. Jaws 4 came out in 1987, so that's even before our time, Bob. So I'm surprised we haven't had a remake since then of Jaws. Maybe it's time we.
It doesn't need it. I know you're going to say it's time, but
It's time.
We are not a horror movie podcast. Despite me wishing some days we were, we are not a horror movie show. We're here talking about paranormal stuff.
We did take film classes, Bob. We could
We
be
did
the
take
one.
film. We went to film school,
we
Count
could-
Panic
we
together.
film school in Hammond, Indiana. We should remake Jaws.
Yes. Who would you be? Would you be Richard Dreyfuss?
I would be Jaws.
You would be the shark. God, I love you very
That'd be fun,
much.
wouldn't it? We could do it, Bob. But that's another story for another day.
All right.
for next summer.
So, how Bob After Dark works is we split the show up into two parts. First part of the show is what we call the weird, spooky news of the week. That's where you, the fans, and me, the Bob, go scouring the internet for anything in the news that's weird, unusual, anything from advances on science that borderline on science fiction, ghosts making it in the major media, a lot of alien talk and, big publications type deal. And then we dive into the lore of the week, which is if we call the show meat and potatoes, the news is the potatoes, the lore of the week is the meat. That Count Panic has to eat because I don't eat meat.
Yeah, you don't. Fun fact.
No. So we are going to start with the news of the week, and I have our first one from therap.com. Blumhouse to adapt hit paranormal video game Phasmophobia into a movie. Blumhouse is developing a feature film adaptation off of the hit paranormal video game Phasmophobia, the studio announced Tuesday. So today, from the British indie game developer Kinetic Games Limited, Phasmophobia launched in 2020 on Steam and since has sold over 22 million copies worldwide. I'll explain here in a moment, but I am one of those people. It also was available on consoles, including PS5 and the Xbox Series. The film adaptation will be produced by Blumhouse and Atomic Monster in association with Kinetic Games Limited. Phasmophobia is a first-person multiplayer horror survival in which players must identify a ghost type of haunting given the location. The news was first announced during Blumhouse's first The Business of Fear event, featuring Blumhouse CEO and founder Jason Blum and President Arabjay Parkash. That's ABHIJAPRAKASH. Atomic Monster CEO and founder James Wan and horror analyst and author Stephen Follows. Hashtag Panic Stick. Have you ever played Phasmophobia?
I never played that, but I've been looking up what you mentioned. It looks like a scary game, Bob. A lot of spooky
It is so much fun. I essentially what Phasmophobia is you and your friends take on the roles of paranormal investigators, and you go through different levels using different equipment to try to identify what type of spirit is haunting that home. The lore of it, you could throw that out the window because they do have some lore that is actually what it's based off of, and other things not so much, so it's fine. But what's interesting is the equipment that you use from actual paranormal investigation sides. The equipment works just like you would think it would in an investigation, except obviously a little bit more active because you're playing a video game. I love Blumhouse. I'll go on record and say Blumhouse is probably my favorite modern horror movie makers. I love Blumhouse.
Remake Jaws then. Maybe.
Stop.
Maybe.
Jaws does not need a remake, man.
All right. Fine. Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
But this is the top, and this is a video game that people go crazy over. Is it like Castlevania, Bob?
Castlevania.
That's another spooky video. They should. You know what? How come they don't do Castlevania?
They did. Castlevania got a whole animated TV show on Netflix.
I missed that. I'm waiting for the movie, I guess. But no, that's great. So you'll be the first in line to get see the movie.
I will. And in fact, Count, let's see if we can get somebody on the horn from the Phasmophobia dev team for an interview.
Yeah. Well, I'll research that.
Yeah, let's see what we can do because they're from Britain, so we'd have to figure that out. But let's see if we can get them on for an interview or just a delayed one.
Should be because what time would it be over there?
Isn't it a 12-hour difference?
So they should be even more better with that. I mean, we're not keeping up in the middle of the night. Yeah, we'll look into that, Bob.
All right, now for our final news story. This was a slow week in news, folks. Trust me.
Not a lot happened.
Not a lot happened. I was doing some research. Was pulling research, and I almost stretched and said there was this study about caffeine in the brain, but that's not what our show is about. That's why I was like, I can't do this, man. If it was something about affecting your dreams or something, maybe that. But look, our final news story of the night. So this is going to be a quicker episode than normal. Just bear with me, guys. You're still getting the episode quality normal. We'll call this a Bob After Dark Quicks.
Yeah, exclusive.
Podcast exclusive. You know, we're live on the radio right now, too. All right. So, Michigan dispensary offers weed for Bigfoot footage.
Whoa.
Yes, this is brought to us by 1029thebuzz.com. This is written by Lisa Martins. On May 18th, a 47-year-old claims that he saw Bigfoot in Monroe County, Michigan. We covered that a couple weeks ago. Edward says he heard rustling in a tree and a huge thud and then saw a large primate with dark fur. However, the witness didn't capture any footage, and now a local cannabis dispensary is offering a reward for evidence of the beast. Unique Cannabis, that's UNIQ, Cannabis is offering a free pre-roll to anyone who brings photo proof. Cryptids aren't new to town. Since the 1960s, there has been talks of the Monroe Monster, which we'll have to do a episode on here in the near future. But Count, we might have to try to reach out to Unique Cannabis.
Yeah, I mean, so if you bring footage of Bigfoot, legit footage, right? I assume. No.
I that's why we're gonna find if we can get a hold of them for an interview.
Now, remember, Bob, as we broadcast this in the state of Indiana, if you're going,
it is illegal. Marijuana is illegal. Yes,
they'll be bringing that Bigfoot marijuana over here. But
we are interested to know what the deal is.
Yeah. Well, now, what if? Here's the thing, Bob. What if you bring in actually Bigfoot himself? They gotta give you the whole dispensary.
You know what?
Right at that point.
You know what? It might be time for our new favorite segment, which, by the way, he absolutely loved it. We might have our new segment called Jack. So we're going to call. Do you still have his number handy?
Yeah, I'm going to call him.
You still got it?
Okay, guys. He answered last week, so let's try this again.
Okay, guys. So we're going to see if Jack answers the phone this week, and we're going to ask him if Bigfoot, if there's some kind of connection between Bigfoot and cannabis.
All right, here we go. Let's see. Again, not saying his number out loud.
No, please do not.
You ever do that? You just say the number out loud as you're dialing?
Yeah, just not live on air to, the thousands of people that listen to us weekly.
Let's see if this is Jack.
Ooh.
He might be busy. Let's see.
He better answer. He had his convention this past Saturday. Oh, is this Jack Chavez?
This is Jack Chavez. What's going on, Bob?
Jack, you are live on Bob After Dark, buddy. How are you?
He's psychic.
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Our segment called Jack is blowing up. People really like it when I randomly call you without warning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really popular last week, so I figured we'd call you this week and check in on how the convention went, and then we have a weird question for you.
Sure, and not only do you have Jack Chavez, paranormal researcher, but you also have Rob Galvin, paranormal researcher. Say hi, Rob.
Hello.
Wow, 2 for the price
of
one.
Hi, Rob. You're live on Bob After Dark.
Yeah, my convention was great. Actually, it was a good turnout. Everybody seemed to have fun. I had a great time, and I just like to see everybody just kind of like interact with each other, and people became friends. It was awesome.
That's awesome, man. Now, Rob, I got to ask you, because you're a first-timer on Bob After Dark, tell me a little bit about yourself.
And Rob, keep it clean, because we are on AM radio as well here.
You are on radio as well as a podcast, so keep it clean, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I've been into the paranormal ever since I was a kid. I grew up listening to, like, Coast to Coast AM and shows like that.
Hey, shout out to Art Bell. And
oh, yeah. Heck, yeah. I really liked cryptids growing up. I kept reading a book, Tales of the Cryptids. I'd always get it up from the library, and I'd read it again and again, of course, until it was overdue. But yeah, I've also had some ghost experiences. Otherwise, I just do a lot of ghost hunting, like spiritual and like religious research and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds like you're going to make a great guest on Bob After Dark someday.
I hope so.
Yeah, already booking, Bob.
We're already booking you, man. I'll get your contact info from Jack.
Oh, heck yeah. We'll do that.
Oh, excellent. So, Jack, we got a question for you this week. This week, I'm a little bit more prepared. Well, last week we were prepared, but this week it's relating to a news story. Did you hear about the dispensary in Michigan that's giving away a free pre-roll, whatever that means, to anyone who brings in photographic proof of Bigfoot.
No, actually, I did not hear about this one.
Well, there's a cannabis store called Dispensaries, Bob. Get with the times. Unique Cannabis is offering a free pre-roll for anybody who brings in proof of Bigfoot. Ever since that footage came up from May 18th, which I'm sure you're aware of, the May 18th footage people were going crazy over, so now they're looking for better proof. We're going to surprise call them next week and see if we can get an answer about. We're not going to surprise call them. I promise we'll try to talk to these people legitimately. We're going to see what they mean by what proof is, but I'm going to ask you, is this one of the more wilder things you've ever heard of for somebody giving away prizes for proof? Because I know there's some organizations that offer like money. I know the estate of the amazing Randy has like a scholarship if anybody still brings in proof, they get $1 million or something. But have you ever heard of somebody giving away marijuana?
No, but it's more gimmicky than anything else, right? I mean, it's really problematic because you're going into a dispensary, a marijuana shop, and you're having stoners submit pictures. So, you're going to run into a lot of interesting pictures that are probably not Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to find out what their qualifications are for proof. We're going to figure that out, and I will let you know what I find out. Vixen Chat says she's sorry that you couldn't have me for your con this past weekend, but we'll have to figure that out for next time.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just we're gonna make it work for next year.
Yeah, we'll make it work for next time. But Rob, what about you? What's your take on this? This dispensary giving away marijuana for Bigfoot photos.
I mean, how would they confirm the photos aren't just AI? Like, is there like a rigorous testing they do?
I doubt.
We don't know yet. We're gonna find out.
Like, what if I just go online, I make like an AI photo of Bigfoot? I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the AI.
I'm gonna shake my finger Bigfoot at you because that's bad news bears.
Yeah, or just a picture of a bear. Even they send in. Like, how would you know?
That's the thing. We don't know. So I'm gonna find out from these people. And I'm gonna get you guys answers next week.
Bob, I'd be more excited if people were submitting in like Chupacabra or Jersey Devil. Something unique.
Well, the thing is, the footage that they had recently was some of the best footage I've ever seen. And I think there's just a big Bigfoot craze, try saying that 10 times fast, going on in that section of Michigan. So they're trying to put the two things together. It's like, well, there's this Bigfoot craze. Well, here, we're going to give you this. And I don't know if that's an incentive for, amateur cryptozoologists to go out there, which I don't recommend, by the way. Go stick to ghost hunting. Cryptid stuff is a little dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but there's way more challenge with the cryptozoology side of things. But I digress.
I agree, but like ghost hunting has its dangers as well,
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying, there's a big difference between Oh yeah, no. A 6 foot concrete tall thing that's just solid muscle charging at me with all its might to kill me, and it's got some kind of, supernatural powers is absolutely terrifying. Don't get me wrong. There are problems with ghost hunting.
Oh.
You think I could take on Bigfoot? That is some high praise, Jack.
We'll have to use that.
Bob, I have a lot of faith in you. And I really think in the ring you could handle yourself.
Are you booking me versus Bigfoot in a wrestling match for your con next year?
Stay tuned for next year, man. I'm telling you.
In a steel cage.
It'll be Bigfoot versus Mothman.
I love that. Get out of here. All right, Jack and Rob. Thank you guys so much for taking the call, man. And we'll talk to you next week, Jack.
Thanks for calling and Panic. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
Yeah, bye guys.
Bye guys.
How about that, Bob?
I like that segment now. I think that's a new weekly segment 100%, is we're just going to randomly call Jack about the news segments.
See, but now he's expecting it. So is it now a built-in segment?
I think it is. I think calling Jack is a new segment.
We should do it on a different day next time. This
Rotate it out. Am I going to call Pat? He's just going to be like, no.
Yeah, no.
That's not real.
Nah. Well, Bob, I mean, I hope people listen. If you're out there and you see Bigfoot, snap the photo. If you indulge in the wacky tobacco, take it to Wisconsin and have yourself a good time, I guess.
Absolutely.
Don't bring it back.
You know what? We might have to call Pat in some point in the future. We're going to set that up as a surprise.
Randomly call people.
Randomly call people and ask them how they feel about ghosts.
You can make prank phone calls.
Submit your phone number. Yeah. Well, that's a new segment.
Or I could just dial random numbers. We could just dial random numbers and see. Ask them
dial random numbers.
Ask them the questions.
With our luck, you'd be getting like the FBI's like X-Files chapter. How'd you get this number?
Yeah, I know.
And then me and you are going to be running away from the police like the feds.
That can't go well.
No, absolutely not. But Count Panic, I think it's time for us to take a quick break.
Sure.
All right, fans, for live people, stick around. We'll be right back. And for podcast fans, stay tuned. You're about to be hearing words from a podcast that you should be listening to. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Pat, what are you doing?
What? I want people to know that we're a podcast that takes a deep dive into some of the scariest ghost stories.
But we don't do the creepy voices or weird sound effects. We debate the ghost stories. And aren't you supposed to be the skeptic?
I am, but they'll find that out once they listen.
Look, all you have to do is tell them to listen to Ghostly, and that our listeners get to decide which stories are real.
And which stories are just old folklore.
Exactly.
Download Ghostly wherever you find great podcasts.
Oh, jeez.
And we're back.
Hey.
Welcome back, Count Panic.
Welcome back, Bob.
What'd you do during break?
Bob, I went out to scour for the Bigfoot. No luck whatsoever. Remains hide-and-seek champion. How about you?
Oh, but you wouldn't take the prize. You're a good boy.
Oh, yeah, in Indiana. Come on, get out of here, Bob. But I would want to meet the guy, get some photos with him, and whatnot. But no such luck.
You know, I actually, Jack was teaching me how to use a lantern to write my memoirs.
Oh, a lantern.
Because that's how I imagine Jack, like writing by lantern light.
Yeah, with the
just with a quill.
Quill, yeah, a feather pencil, right? Or feather pen.
A feather pen, yeah, the fountain pen.
With somebody rapping at his door.
It's just me. Oh, hey there. In fact, it's Bob.
See, there's gonna be a whole book series with this stuff. But you know what, Beck? That's probably not a way. But that's probably inspirational. Write a book by lantern and with a quill. Something meaningful about that. Yeah, makes it
also
even better.
Folks, did you know that you could call into our show live?
No.
Yes.
I thought we only call out. Nobody could call in.
I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
We just make phone calls.
You can call in 219-845-1100. That's 219-845-1100. You can call in live, say hi to Count Panic and myself, and ask us what we think about stuff.
Yeah, any stuff. Jaws should be remade.
Actually, that's the question of the evening, folks. Should Jaws be remade? 219-845-1100.
There you have it. Our sound off in the maybe somebody at Twitch has an answer for us.
In the chat, yes. Does Jaws deserve a remake? I'll actually put that up in the vote right
questions.
now.
Oh, there's a vote?
Yeah, I could do that.
Wow. It's high tech over there. We don't have vote systems here.
Yes, but anyway, would you like to know what I did during break, Count Panic?
What did you do during break?
You know, I took up a new hobby.
Yeah. What hobby?
I am now a bassoon player.
A bassoon player? How's that going?
A bassoon player. You know, I'm doing really well.
That's not
a number 2 NA right now.
Really?
Ranked.
Not a lot of people play the bassoon.
I know, man. It just kind of happened.
It's a rare instrument for sure, and you know, I had the thing with it is it takes years to master. They say usually decades, but you learned it during the commercial break. You mastered it during the commercial break, which is amazing. Congratulations, Bob. Can't wait for your next concert.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm going to be playing Sons of Count Panic.
Yeah, I like that.
There's a poll right now up in chat, everybody. Should Jaws be remade? Yes or no? You can also call in if you're not on the chat, and you could tell us what you think.
Mm.
And for podcast fans,
Write a letter.
Write a letter. You could shoot us an email, bob@bobafterdark.com.
The hotline.
A hotline. I have a hotline. I don't remember the number of the hotline, but I do have a hotline.
That's not good if you can't remember the hotline number.
Because
your
we
own
never
hotline.
use it. Because we never use it.
Mm.
We never use
The
it.
Bob
But
line.
it's definitely out there. I'm actually going to look that up while I make you talk for a second.
All right. See, the fact is, even Miss Cleo had a hotline, but she knew her phone number. She knew the phone number for folks to dial in. We don't have that number, but Bob is working on getting it, so maybe you could call into the hotline. Now, Bob, will you pick up directly, or do you think that it goes to voicemail, like a Bob recording, like
It goes directly to a voicemail.
George Costanza? Believe it or not, Bob is
Believe
not at
it
home.
or not, it's just me. I'm
I'm not
trying
home.
to see where my voicemail's at.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people do. I think more people.
Does it tell me my number?
Less phone numbers out there and more hotlines. There used to be a thing, Bob, back in the day, back before our day, called the party line, where you could just call up a bunch of people and have a party on the phone, I guess. But it's a little bit before my time and your time as well. But they could bring that back. Everything that was old is new again. So I'm thinking, well, geez, just bring it back to party line. Call it the spooky line or something, Bob. How you doing with that hotline?
Oh, they shut my number down, so I have to create it. They have to make an okay. We got to vote in chat. By the way, no, Josh should not get remade. So I have to recreate the Bob After Dark hotline again.
They shot your hotline down.
They did. It goes inactive. I mean, if I'm not promoting it, I keep forgetting about it unless I pay for it. Which no.
For years, some people probably be calling that hotline only to get just the dial.
Only to get. I think. If you call the old numbers, it just goes disconnected. I had a good one. My first one was like 773 Bob Dark or something like that. It was a pretty cool number, but unfortunately, it's gone now.
Chuck Pullen chimes into the Panic hotline, and he said, "Family Guy already did it with the clip from Family Guy, the bigger Jaws Family Guy." I remember that. But is that really count?
That doesn't count, Chuck. Get out of here. But I appreciate you texting into the Panic line.
Full-length movie from that, but one day, Bob, one day.
All right, Count Panic. You ready to dive into the lore of the week?
Yeah, sure.
So we were talking about video games earlier with Phasmophobia, and one of my favorite video games I play is Fallout 76, where you wander around the Appalachia Mountains and you survive post-apocalyptic America, and it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
And in there, because Appalachia is so heavily involved with cryptid stories, they actually put the cryptids in Fallout 76 with like nuclear kind of origin stories. Yeah. So let's go from there.
Dive right deep into it, Bob.
Yes, and one of those cryptids is called the Grafton Monster. It's one of the. If I was just explaining this on the phone to Vix, who the Grafton Monster, because she said she didn't know who it was, and I said, well, if you look at West Virginia cryptid stories, Mothman's number one, easy. Number two is the Flatwoods Monster, which we haven't done an episode about. And I would argue that 3 is the Grafton Monster. But let's talk a little bit about it, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So according to the Cryptid Wiki, the Grafton Monster, the Beast of Grafton, was a cryptid from Taylor County, West Virginia, and sighted in 1964. The Grafton Monster is described as being 7 to 9 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and having white seal-like skin. The monster also possesses no discernible head. The Grafton Monster's head was rested in the middle of its chest, and the Grafton Monster has a very deep bellow being heard for miles. On June 16th, 1964, Robert Cockrell got off work at the local newspaper publication, the Grafton Sentinel, now known as the Mountain Statesman, at 11 p.m. and journeyed home. He drove down Yates Avenue along the western banks of the Tygart River, and he turned the curve into the road and encountered the Grafton Monster, describing it as a huge white obstruction with thick white skin and no head. He rushed home, terrified, and called his friends Jerry Morse and Jim Mouser to accompany him for further investigation at the scene. There was no sign of the monster, but the grass was trampled where it once stood, and its low whistling sounded and followed them as they investigated. The next day, Cockrell said nothing to his coworkers about the monster. However, upon hearing of other sightings, he decided to speak up. More than 20 calls came in from people who allegedly sighted this monster. Robert Cockrell wrote an article on the Grafton Monster, which was published in the Sentinel on June 18th. Following these sightings, groups of teenagers went in search of the Grafton Monster, dubbing it monster hunting, which, of course. Several of them even reportedly sighted the monster, and more sightings followed, but no physical evidence was ever presented. In Tigard Valley, a farmer named Terry captured video of the Grafton Monster. Explanation. One teenager interviewed suggested that the Grafton Monster may have been an escaped polar bear. However, he gave no suggestions as to where it actually escaped from. On June 19th, 1964, the Grafton Sentinel published an article claiming the sightings of Grafton Monsters were the personification of active imaginations. It claimed the monster may have resulted in an individual pushing a iron cart loaded high with boxes, walking along Riverside Drive on a Tuesday night. In the late evening half light, the person in the handcart took off with and took on a weird shape. Robert Cockrell would later contact paranormal author Gray Breyer, who popularized tales of the Mothman. In a letter written to Cockrell, Barker suggested the Grafton Monster could possibly be an alien visitor from another planet. Others have also suggested that it could be an interdimensional traveler. What do you think so far, Tom?
Yeah, well, you know what? There's always a chance it could be a polar bear, but they kind of ruled this out already, it seems like, correct?
I would say so.
Not a polar bear. Okay. Continue on, Bob. Not a polar bear.
Yeah, not a polar bear. So what do you think? You think a polar bear is
Yeah, you never know. Polar bears could be deceptive. I mean, a polar bear in a certain light or certain stance could definitely look like a cryptid.
Well, let's look at the evidence that we have presented to us. Cockrell knew the road very well in his report. And by the way, I'm actually reading from the Skeptical Inquirer, which is an interesting thing. Pat would be proud of me.
You would.
Yes. So anyway, here it talks about knowing the road very well and then being able to try to track it at night. He knew knew it well enough to try to go hunting it as well. I don't know, Count Panic. This one's an interesting one because it's one of the bigger cryptids we've ever seen. 4 feet wide. Do you know how wide that is?
That's pretty wide.
Giant. It's just basically a giant white wall running around.
Yeah, but it's not a polar bear.
No.
It's a giant white wall with legs. So that's all we got so far, basically.
So I also have here correspondence from between Cockrell and Gray, the paranormal writer. I have that letter here, and I'm going to read it to you guys. Dear Gray, I received your copy of Unidentified and the Saucerian and find them enjoyable reading. Enclosed are 2 pieces we run on the monster. They were printed on June 18th and 19th, and the creature was first sighted on June 16th. I reviewed the details of the story and came up with the following. Riverside Drive is located on the west of Grafton, and it is a stretch of paved road about 3 miles wide. Half is secluded, bordered on one side by the Tigard River and the other side a steep cliff with heavy undergrowth. On the night of June 16th at 11 p.m., I was on my way home and averaged about 50 miles an hour. I know the road well, and the night was clear, and I was not overly tired or exhausted, nor was I under any emotional stress. As I was coming down the road, I was negotiating a wide curve. As I came out of the curve, I looked down the mile-long straight ahead stretch. As I glanced up, my high beams picked up a huge white obstruction on the right side of the road, standing between the road and the riverbank on a cleared off section of grass. After glimpsing the thing, I sped off to get off the road as soon as possible. My impressions of the beast were it was about 7 to 9 feet tall, approximately 4 feet wide. and had seal-looking skin, which is an interesting description, by the way. Because how could you call it a polar bear with seal-like skin? Seals don't have
That's true.
thick white fur. They have fur, but not like that.
Yeah. We're breaking it
That's
down
your-
here.
Yes. Do you think this thing is real, Comp Panic?
Bob, who am I to say the giant walking white wall isn't real? I never seen it myself, but who's to say that I can't disprove that it's actually out there? It'd be terrifying to see, though.
Well, Cockrell said it best, right? So there is a final analysis. There is no Grafton Monster, never was. There will no doubt be those who dismiss Cockrell's final letter on the monster, which is interesting because Cockrell then went on to say in 2014 that this thing was West Virginia's gave public relations a black eye in 2014 from the Mountain Monsters episode on the Grafton Monsters. So that's kind of interesting that Cockrell did not enjoy that episode of Mountain Monsters.
Yeah.
So even Cockrell at the end believed that there was no Grafton Monster.
Yeah. Well, so now, okay. So he's disproving it then. He's not a believer.
No longer a believer.
All right.
As far as size goes in cryptids and what we normally deal with, that thing is bigger than anything we've ever had before.
Seems rather wide there, Bob.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But how do you defeat it?
I don't know. That thick of skin, that's a question usually we would have for Dr. Ben. So maybe I'll ask Dr. Ben to come on next week or I'll see if he could give me an answer.
Could it be just a bunch of polar bears on top of each other, maybe? Possibly.
In a trench coat.
In a trench coat. A white trench coat. Just all blend in as one, roaming about. Could it be that, Bob?
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
It could be anything.
Well, Count Panic,
Yeah.
that concludes our story on the Grafton Monster.
What's the takeaway here?
The biggest cryptid we've ever talked about that I think has a viable reason of existence.
Really?
Yeah, I believe in the Grafton Monster.
Why do you think this one more so than others? That it's believable.
I just want to believe it because it's in the it's West Virginian lore.
Okay.
You know, we have the Mothman and Flatwoods Monster, and for me to deny Grafton would mean I'd have to deny the other two, and I don't have it in me.
You don't have it in you. Might as well.
Might as well.
Yeah.
All right, but do you have any closing words for our audience this evening?
Bob, no. Everybody keep on keeping on. You know, the weather is getting nice. Summer's starting to roll. Be safe out there, and you'll hear this podcast soon enough.
Absolutely. Folks, thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Bob After Dark. On behalf of me and Count Panic, we just want to wish all of you sweet dreams. To my mom, good night. To my dad, wherever you are in the universe, I hope you're happy, comfortable doing whatever it is that you want to be doing. And to Tiff, no matter where you are in the world, I hope you have the sweetest dreams of them all. Good night, everybody. And remember, the two most important rules of Bob After Dark are not all who wander are lost, and as above, so below. Until next time.
Memoriam Development.